Hi everyone, this is Miss P, and this is a video about how to multiply two fractions. In this video, we're going to understand how to multiply two fractions, and we'll learn a shortcut that you can use to solve any multiplication problem involving two fractions. We'll start with the example of 1/2 times 1/3. Now, when you're multiplying two fractions, in this case, when you're multiplying 1/2 times 1/3, what you're doing is you're looking for 1/2 of 1/3 of a whole. So we can represent this using a visual to help us understand a little bit more clearly exactly what it is we're doing when we're multiplying these two fractions. In this case, we're going to use this square to represent the whole. We can break the whole up into 3 equal parts or thirds, 3/3. Next, we can shade one of those 3 equal parts or 1/3 with blue. So far, we have visually represented 1/3 of a whole. Since we broke the whole up into thirds vertically, the next thing we're going to do is break that same whole into halves horizontally. Now that the whole has been broken up into halves horizontally, we can shade in one of those two halves with the pink here. So we've broken the whole up into thirds vertically and halves horizontally. We've shaded 1/3 of the whole vertically and shaded 1/2 of the whole horizontally. In breaking the same whole into thirds and then halves, we've created a whole that has 6 equal parts. Therefore, 6 becomes the denominator in representing our visual whole here. When you look at the 6 equal parts and identify how many of them have been shaded both by the blue and the pink, meaning both by the 1/3 vertically and the 1/2 horizontally, you can see that one of those 6 parts is represented. Therefore, the visual shows us that 1/2 of that 1/3 is equal to 1/6. Therefore, we know that 1/2 times 1/3 equals 1/6. We can also represent this up top with the equation itself. 1/2 times 1/3 equals, and we know from completing the visual below that the answer is going to be 1/6. But another way that we can solve this problem is simply by multiplying the numerators and multiplying the denominators. In this case, the numerators are both 1. 1 times 1 equals 1 in the numerator, and the denominators are 2 and 3. So 2 times 3 equals 6 in the denominator. So 1/2 times 1/3 equals 1/6. Next, let's try solving another problem. In this case, 3/5 times 2/3. I've kept the same whole below the square representing a whole. So let's begin by breaking the whole into thirds vertically and into fifths horizontally. As you can see, we've broken the whole into 1, 2, 3 equal parts vertically, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts horizontally. Before we do anything else, we can identify that this whole has now been broken up into 15 equal parts. So we know that will be the denominator of our answer. We have to figure out how many out of those 15 equal parts are going to be represented when we find 3/5 of 2/3, when we solve the problem of 3/5 times 2/3. So let's start by representing 2/3 by shading it in with the blue. Now that we've shaded in 2/3 vertically, we can shade in 3/5 horizontally with the pink. When we look at the whole, we can identify that out of the 15 equal parts that were created, 6 of them have been double shaded. 6 out of the 15 equal parts are represented as 3/5 of the 2/3. We have shown visually that 3/5 of 2/3 is 6/15. But we can also solve this problem using the strategy of multiplying the denominators by each other and multiplying the numerators by each other. For example, using this problem, the denominators are 5 and 3. 5 times 3 equals 15. And the numerators are 3 and 2. And 3 times 2 equals 6. So 3/5 times 2/3 equals 6/15, just as we showed below. Now that we understand the concept of what we're doing when we multiply two fractions, and we can accurately visualize that and discuss it, let's just take a moment to practice the shortcut strategy of multiplying the denominators and multiplying the numerators in order to get the answer when you're multiplying two fractions. This first problem is 3/7 times 1/2. To solve, we simply multiply the denominators. 7 times 2 equals 14. And multiply the numerators. 3 times 1 equals 3. So 3/7 times 1/2 equals 3/14. Finally, below, 4/5 times 2/3. We can simply multiply the denominators. 5 times 3 equals 15. And multiply the numerators. 4 times 2 equals 8. 4/5 times 2/3 equals 8/15. So anytime you are multiplying two fractions, what you're really finding is one fraction of the other fraction as represented as part of a whole. But in order to solve these problems quickly and accurately, you can simply multiply the numerators by each other to get the numerator in your answer, and multiply the denominators by each other to get the denominator in your answer. This works with any two fractions. Let me know in a comment below if there's a math video that you would like me to make next.